They say that no one will survive the eruption of a supervolcano. And now, scientists have discovered that there is such a monster in our world that may wake up at any moment. A countdown to catastrophe has already begun. All of us are doomed. Welcome to this channel. Today, we'll find out where exactly is it located, and how soon will it erupt. It's hard to believe, but some volcanoes have been dormant for millions of years. In particular, scientists are talking about the so-called supervolcanoes, the largest and most powerful eruptions of which can turn into global catastrophes. In short, such volcanoes don't just affect the nearby territory, they affect the whole planet. According to experts, only a few of these monsters exist on Earth, and all of them are potentially active. Even if the supervolcano doesn't erupt tomorrow, sooner or later its time will come. In today's video, we'll get acquainted with one of them that was considered extinct and even used as a landfill for toxic waste. It's Yellowstone National Park. Its territory includes over 300 peaks of various sizes. However, scientists are more interested in not the existing volcanoes, but the potentially active ones. Among them are the so-called calderas, vast craters formed after the magma chamber is depleted during an eruption. Although there isn't much activity here, it's impossible to predict when the next eruption will occur. What worries scientists most is the fact that it has all the makings of a super eruption. You might think, what does it mean? In short, the danger is associated with magma. This is molten rock, hot gas mixtures and solid particles suspended in them. If magma finds its way to the surface, it turns into lava. If it doesn't, it accumulates under the Earth's crust. Over time, pressure builds up and the magma chamber gets filled. When it reaches its maximum capacity, magma can break through the Earth's crust and cause an eruption. The larger the magma chamber, the greater the destructive force of the eruption. Yellowstone National Park Caldera is enormous. It extends over an area of 43 by 28 miles, and its depth reaches 12 miles. For comparison, the largest active volcano in the world, Mauna Loa in Hawaii, is 1.5 miles deep. Scientists believe that the Yellowstone monster has a magma chamber twice as large as the one in Mauna Loa. If it erupts, the consequences will be devastating. But what do we know about the history of the supervolcano? Its first major eruption occurred about 2.1 million years ago. Then it erupted again after another 500,000 years. Finally, the third time, it happened 640,000 years ago. Each of the eruptions was powerful. The rating of the most destructive eruptions in the history of the planet includes only 3 major eruptions that occurred over the past 10 million years. 2 of them took place at Yellowstone National Park, and the third one occurred in Toba, Indonesia. These eruptions were so powerful they affected not only the local climate, but also the climate of the entire planet. Yellowstone National Park eruptions ejected over 2,800 cubic miles of material and covered a significant part of the western United States with ash. But all of this happened long before humans existed, so people didn't feel the consequences of these events. Things are different with the Toba eruption. It happened only 74,000 years ago. At that time, modern humans appeared on the planet. There aren't many of them left after the eruption. Some scientists even believe that this event caused the almost total destruction of the human race. But this is not the worst. Experts warn that the supervolcano may erupt again very soon. In 2018, scientists recorded a series of tremors near the Yellowstone Caldera. Plus, since 2015, the park's seismic monitoring system has recorded nearly 2,000 earthquakes, mostly minor ones. In addition, scientists noticed that the ground in some parts of Yellowstone National Park began to bulge upward at a rate of about 13 inches per year. Moreover, in some places, the Earth's crust was lowered by several centimeters. What does it mean? The magma chamber is gradually filling up. How full is it? Scientists refuse to name a specific percentage. They only say that the magma chamber is far from being filled to capacity. Just imagine, even if the magma chamber is only half full, the consequences of the eruption promise to be terrible. I wonder how the US government would deal with this situation. Will they manage to evacuate everyone in time? Most likely not. And even if they do, the consequences of the disaster won't bypass even the most protected people. So let's imagine how exactly the Yellowstone supervolcano eruption will affect humanity. First of all, everyone will be affected by the initial explosion. Pyroclastic flows, falling volcanic material, and high temperature will destroy everything in their path. The blast wave will spread from the epicenter like an expanding sphere. It will destroy buildings and knock down power lines. Those who survive will face breathing problems due to the huge amount of ash in the air. The ash will cover not only Yellowstone National Park, but also nearby cities and towns. Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming will suffer the most. All residents will have to stay indoors for a long time, wearing protective masks. But these are only the initial consequences. More serious problems will arise after. Pyroclastic flows will carry fertile soil and volcanic ash to other regions. Plants will die. Crop yields will drop sharply. There will be food shortages and hunger will become widespread. Not only agricultural products but also water will be contaminated. Lava will merge with glaciers and streams, causing mud flows that will flood residential areas. Hot water will kill all living things in its path. But the worst thing will be the so-called nuclear winter. Volcanic ash will clog the atmosphere. Sunlight will not be able to pass through it, and the consequences will be similar to those of a nuclear war. Global temperatures will drop dramatically. The sun will be barely visible in the sky. But unlike the aftermath of a nuclear war, there will be enough oxygen to breathe. The only way to survive in these conditions is to move to the poles or hide in shelters until the atmosphere clears. But this will happen only after several years. Survivors will have to wear warm protective suits for a long time. There is only one problem. Where will the people go? Ash and lava will destroy many settlements. Cities will turn into dangerous areas. Who will be the first to suffer after the disaster? Parents with young children. The elderly and pets will also suffer. Most of the animals will die, but some may survive if they manage to hide in burrows or high trees. In short, life on the planet will be under a big question. And what if the supervolcano eruption happens suddenly and without any signs? People will simply have no time to react. Evacuation of nearby cities will be organized in panic. And those who decide to stay behind will be hoping for the best. Everyone will try to save as much as possible, including their homes, money, and food supplies. But all these measures will be in vain, because even basements and reinforced concrete structures won't help. Ash and debris will penetrate everywhere. There will be no safe place left. Volcanic ash is abrasive and sharp, and even tiny particles of it can damage the lungs and cause death. At the same time, it can cause heart attacks and strokes in people with cardiovascular diseases. After the eruption, survivors will need medical care. Hospitals will be unable to cope with the influx of patients. Doctors themselves will be among the victims of the disaster. Therefore, in order to survive, each person will have to learn first aid and provide it to others. So it turns out that the supervolcano eruption will change our lives even if it doesn't happen tomorrow. Now, unfortunately, experts cannot predict when the Yellowstone National Park will erupt. The last time it happened was 640,000 years ago, but scientists suggest that the second largest magma chamber had been refilled long before that. This means that the interval between eruptions is about 800,000 years. But this is only an assumption. Now, the magma chamber is filling up very slowly. The reason is the cooling magma. To speed up the process, it needs to be heated. But nothing of that kind has been observed in the last 2 centuries. In the meantime, we can only wait. Well, except for one thing. Scientists believe that animal migrations may indicate an impending eruption. The fact is that 100 to 200 years before the disaster, underground tremors begin, which are recorded by local herds of bison and elk. They feel the changes in the Earth's crust and leave the dangerous area. Elk migrate to higher places and bison move to the south. Maybe it's worth listening to these animals and preparing for the worst. What do you think? Will humanity survive the Yellowstone National Park's super eruption? Let us know in the comments. And that's all for today. Rate this video and see you soon. Bye.